Hello everyone, and welcome to the Dice Commando YouTube channel. I'm Andrew, with you here as always. This is the Commando Cast, a video cast about all things Star Wars Destiny. This video and others like this one are possible thanks to viewers like you. Please show your support with a like and subscribe, and be sure to hit the bell notification icon so you don't miss any new videos. If you want to get involved with the channel, consider becoming a channel member. There are many benefits to channel membership, including access to our Discord, exclusive deck tech and strategy videos, and the opportunity to help create channel content. I want to sincerely thank all our channel members, as I truly couldn't do this without your support. You guys rock. Go Commando. So ARH's Galactic Open series for the Seeking Answers rotation, the Coruscant Open, was this last week. It was a success in multiple ways. So today I wanted to run down the decks, the participants, the winners, and everything about the event. Hey there, Star Wars Destiny folks. Welcome back to Dice Commando and Destiny Friday. Hope your guys' week has been well. Hope last weekend was great for you, especially if you were playing in the Galactic Open. Unfortunately, I was not able to make it. I was hoping I'd be able to make the second heat. I got back basically just as it started, so missed out on that. But I was able to watch what was happening all weekend. Dice Commando guys were doing their updates as they were playing, and it was a really good time tracking everyone. So what I wanted to do today was because I spent some time this week just seeing how it went, how the meta looks like, because it seemed like a very healthy meta, and I wanted to see if that was the case. So let's go through kind of what happened over the weekend. So we'll go ahead and start with, we'll put it up right now. This is the top three for each heat over the weekend. So heat 3 obviously is historically has been the smaller heat and was here, but not that much smaller. So Rebel Trader, the big winner this weekend, taking down two of them. So he took down Heat 1 with Racco Callus, which I do believe kind of made waves for the weekend. Echo 3 on Pre-Hondo. That deck is still good, apparently. And Rando Mando on Cassian Reset, right? So that does appear to be the popular reset deck currently with the new errata or restrictions, I should say, right? So Rando Mando on Cassian, Grief, and Wolfe. That is also what Rebel Trader won Heat 3 with. Heat 2 was Bosk Finnick, which is very, very interesting to me. I really need to look into that deck. That's kind of cool, right? And that's, of course, using the Bounty Hunter plot. Snake pulling in second place with Pohan Pew Pew piloting. And then Norman, also a very, very strong player, on Racco Callus again. So seeing a theme there. Trader on Cassian Reset. And then Game Slayer for Pyre. I kind of like this, like a Pyre... So Pyre, two Mandos, two Deathwash Mandos, and then Relentless, right? So single die Pyre. So you got Battlefield shenanigans, you have dice removal shenanigans, you have Relentless Advance, which just keeps ticking up as long as you can stay alive, and then you just nail them when you're ready. And then Gareth Parfit on Mill. Kind of control Mill, Charm, right? On a Charm deck. So Leia, Garza, and Fergan down. We did see quite a bit of Leia and Fergan over the weekend. I do believe this was the only Garza deck, but I've got it in a second. We'll go through it. So yeah, I mean, the summary of there's the top three, but summary of the weekend. So there were 72 total players across the three heats, 41 of them uniques, right? So 41 unique players over the weekend, right? So that's the size really of the Destiny community within some percentage of people who could make it and stuff like that, right? And by that I mean like the active ARH like online play community. So 72 total, 41 unique players. And then we had 48 unique decks, right? Which is pretty cool, right? So that means that most players played multiple decks over the weekend, right? That's what the math tells us. 41 unique players, 48 unique decks, and we saw that other people were playing the same, right? So, right, because we saw in the winners that, Rebel Trader had switched, but then somebody else had played what he played. So very, very interesting there. So just going down Heat 1, again, just kind of summing it up here, some interesting ones that I saw from this one was that Guylove made some not pretty huge, but there were a lot of Guylove decks, right, kind of floating around. That was kind of the talk of the town early on Saturday, was like, man, there's a lot of Baze Chirrup floating around. Wookiee Smell, this was actually Wookiee's son who was playing on Wookiee's account, running that one and did pretty well. We saw several Asajj decks, Talzin Asajj decks. Well, and by several I mean two. I think the thing that was surprising to me, if I looked at it overall, was the surprising lack of Zeb, right? Zeb was only on one deck in Heat 1, and I thought that was very interesting. We saw a couple BKs. Interestingly enough, all of the BKs, right, because there was two options, right, there was BK Retribution and then BK with high stakes. And I don't believe when I went through the list for the weekend, I don't believe I saw any stay aheads. I believe they were all Retribution, which I think is probably the right choice, but there was a debate out there. And then I do want to point out that Moloch on Tarful Wolf Wallow Tribe, I'm pretty sure that's a BK deck also. It's just like the hero BK deck, right? So somebody correct me if I'm wrong there, because obviously it doesn't have him in the deck list, right? So, but I'm pretty sure that that's actually a hero BK deck. So, but I could be wrong there. So, correct me if I'm wrong. I know you will, right? Moving on to Heat 2, right? Again, so we had Bosk Finnick, Pohan, and then Racco Callis. It's interesting for those two, the two first place decks did not. I think those were the only times you saw those decks over the weekend. Rebel Trader here was on Lando. Senator Rescue Han. It's kind of very interesting. That seems more like a trader deck. We saw Loomis, Dice Commando guy, go fifth place with BK. The Cad Evazon deck, that's actually pretty interesting. Other interesting decks kind of going down here. We saw Rando Mando on Darth Vader 10th Brother, right, doing the thing with specials there, which makes sense. We saw another Guy Love, a Chewie Singer, which is surprising. And then Kara Zeb and Stay Ahead. Actually, we had seen one of those in Wave 1 as well. So, of course, there's a lot of different lot of different decks on here, but those are the ones that's... Oh, another one surprised me is Afra on Majo's playing that one, but Afra Pyre Sweepers. It's kind of like a throwback one, right? So that's kind of cool. And then Heat 3, last of the day. So again, we saw a Cassian reset. Pyre Deathwatch, Mando's Relentless, right, for Game Slayer 989, pretty cool there. So he was running the same one. Moloch again on Tarful, Wolf or Tribe, so maybe a BK deck. 3 BKs across this one. Saw a Caljaro, nice. We did see our only big gray of the weekend on Darth Clooney, playing the only one I saw. Bosk Finnick then, actually, the guy who won Heat 2, placed not as high in Heat 3. And then Sabine Finn, also seeing that get repped. We also saw Tuvir Snokes, which is interesting. I hadn't really thought of that one. That's an interesting one, because you remember you get the minion too. And then, and then we also saw a couple Flippy Ray decks. So we saw Flippy Ray Burry, Flippy Ray Ayla, and then in the previous, going back to 2, it was Flippy Ray and Sifo-Dyas with a plot. Yeah, so that's interesting. All right, so going on to kind of the full decks breakdown. So BK, and I'm counting BK here as the starting BK, right? So if those 2 Tarful Wolf Wallow tribes are in fact BK decks, which I think they probably are, but either way. So I didn't want to add those in because I wasn't sure how they were playing that, but I was pretty sure that's how they're playing. Anyway, so you get the point. So it could be as many as 8 BK decks, but they're still different, right? Because one's a hero version, one's a villain version. Guy Love with 4, and then Racco Callis with 4. And after that, look how diverse the field is. That's very, very, very interesting to me. I think the data's there to show that we have a very diverse meta right now. Potentially one of the most diverse we've ever seen. I've never really gone... Echo Base used to go through and kind of do some stats roll up and stuff like this, and they very well may. Again, they always do a really good job. It's always fun to read their articles. But I just went through and just did a, typing it in and looking at the numbers. So yeah, that's what I came up with. Or that's not what I came up with. That's what it is, right? Look at that diversity there. That's huge. The reason I'm presenting it this way, by the way, is because there was no point in making a pie chart when it was this diverse, because it just, right, it would have just looked like a pinwheel, right? It wouldn't have been very valuable. So very interesting. I'm really surprised by the number of Zebs, or the lack of number of Zebs. I'm a little surprised by the number of Guy Loves. That's kind of very encouraging, actually. Maybe I should be putting more. I've been putting a lot of my effort into BK when I play. Maybe I need to go back to Guy Love. I do wonder what people... I should break those down. Maybe I'll do that. I'll go back. I'll look at the decks and what they were running for their yellow cards, right? Because they were all running Insurgency. I didn't put it in there because that's an obvious one, right? I'm sure they're running the bow staff, but then the question is what that other one is. Probably new base would be my guess. And then the Zori Benthic deck, that's kind of a fun deck. It's kind of a YOLO deck a little bit, but it is piloting. The Pyre Deathwatch Mando's Relentless, actually, I see that on one. It's because I must have typed it up because there was 2 of those. So anyway, right, because remember that was being played by the same guy in 2 flights. But anyway, the data there is pretty solid. I'm blown away. I am absolutely blown away by how little Zeb was there. I guess he was there twice because Ahsoka Zeb and Sabine Zeb. But that's very interesting to me. The other very interesting thing for the weekend, I think, was the lack of Big Ray, right? So that's a very... It's not really unfortunate. Like, I think it was the right thing to do, but it's kind of a bummer that, like, such a small change. I mean, it's not a small change, but, like, what else were they going to do about it? You know what I mean? Like, the point is you're making it resolve or remove to heal instead of resolve and heal. It's interesting how that kind of change can make someone go from playable to not, right? And how close the margins are there on advantage and value. Especially on a big character, right? It's very, very interesting to me, right? I mean, it makes a lot more sense if, like, you do some change like that on a 15-point character or like a mid character. But I mean, the data is very clearly there that Big Ray is not a thing in the meta right now. That said, we didn't see a lot of Sabine either. Like, didn't see a whole lot of Sabine. Yeah, very, very interesting. So either way, very cool to sit down and go through the data and really kind of look at it. And I think we're in a good spot right now. Do you remember that I saw news earlier this week that they're confirmed now for Worlds at Gen Con? So that's a go. So barring, and if you look at the set releases, barring anything else happening, this should be roughly that, right? So maybe they do some other tweaks between now and, I mean, there's a good amount of time between now, but it's not that much time, right? So this could be the best meta we've seen, and it probably could be the meta for Worlds, potentially. So it'd be very interesting to see. I just said interesting like 100 times in the last 10 minutes, but it is. It very, very is. So good job, ARH guys. Looking healthy. BK at the top. I love it, right? Just because it's a nice, simple deck. It hits hard, or it doesn't, and I like it. So anyway, nicely done, folks. Hope everyone had a great time and you got plenty of spot glosses. I'm jealous that I was not able to get there and earn points for my BK one, but you know, life happens, and that's just the way it is. So anyway, folks, thanks for tuning in today. Have a great weekend. Just roll threes and go Commando.